everyone. Today I am going to be sharing with you the 4 triggers that cause emotional eating. Now I'm going to do this in a 2-part video series. So in today's video I will be discussing 2 triggers, and then in the next video I will be discussing another 2 triggers. So turning to food to ease unwanted feelings and emotions can become a very destructive pattern, which keeps you from achieving your goals, and it oftentimes leaves you feeling powerless, discouraged, and disgusted with your own inability to stick to your goals or control your cravings. Emotional eating is not so much about the food, it's more about the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The thoughts and emotions that cause you then to eat in destructive ways, and like I said, keeps you from achieving your goals. So in order to begin breaking free from emotional eating, you must first be aware that food is not the issue. And you cannot use food, another diet, a cleanse, or some type of restrictive eating program to solve the problem. You must begin by being willing to look at the stressful thoughts that's causing the behavior. So the first trigger today that I'm going to talk about is the loneliness trigger. Oftentimes I think this is like the most common one, that people experience. So, and what we found is there's often a connection between loneliness and emotional eating. Now, loneliness can show up as just an overall feeling of sadness, or maybe feeling unwanted. Sometimes it shows up, or it's because you feel like you have lack of support, maybe lack of validation, or a lack of connection, or even a lack of intimacy. Oftentimes loneliness can also stem from childhood, and really can create a desire then to fill up that lonely space with food. Oftentimes when we feel that sort of deep emptiness or lack of connection, we reach for food to try to fill up that space, and then that can lead to emotional eating and binge eating. So really, what I want you to understand is that it all begins with a thought that then leads to a behavior. So one of the strategies I use in my coaching program is really how to think your way out of loneliness. The first step to doing that is about becoming more mindful of your thinking and what thoughts trigger the feelings of loneliness. When you begin to feel the sensation of loneliness, you want to take a pause and reflect on it. What I usually suggest is when you're feeling in that space, maybe that space of sadness or the space of loneliness, just take some time to sit and breathe and connect with yourself and with your body. What thoughts are you believing right now? Is it something like, I will always be alone? Instead of reacting to the thought, I want you to mindfully consider it. When you mindfully start considering the thought, you can begin to see that there's a distortion in the thought. Are you truly alone? Do you have some friends? When I say distortion, I mean, the thought may not be 100% true, but you are still having a negative reaction in your body, that feeling of loneliness. So you want to start looking mindfully at the thought and looking at it in a non-judgmental way so that you can begin to choose what to do with that thought. In other words, you can use a process that I share in my program to shift your mindset into a more positive frame. I want you to understand that when you can mindfully and non-judgmentally look at your thoughts before you react with the eating behaviors, you then understand that you do have power over your thoughts. And I am not talking about just saying affirmations. In the program, I give you the tools to help you to work to uncover the thought, be aware of the thought, and then begin shifting the thought, like understanding how the thought may be distorted or how your perception of the thought may be causing you to feel stressed or feel loneliness. So it's not about having willpower or affirmations, as you can see. It's really about beginning to identify the thought that's behind the loneliness, seeing that the thought may be distorted, and going through a process of creating a positive thought that is believable. And once you are able then to master this type of insight and this type of awareness, you can see that it really cuts the loneliness right at its core. And so this is how we begin to create long-term change. This is how you then begin to be able to master the emotional eating, conquer your cravings, and really set yourself free with food. The second trigger that I'm going to talk about today is the anger trigger. Now, anger is an emotion that is not often well accepted in our society. So it is so often suppressed with food, drugs, or alcohol. I mean, if uncomfortable emotions like sadness, loneliness, and anger aren't dealt with at the root, a problematic eater, someone that's having issues with emotional eating, will then try to suppress these feelings with food. I don't know if you've experienced this, or you've created some awareness. If you're angry and stressed out, do you tend to then try to reach for food, something to soothe your anger, something to deal with your anger other than expressing it? So, like I said, in our culture, anger is regarded as a negative emotion. And it's also often seen as weakness, especially for women. Sadness, fear, or other very difficult to express emotions are always or oftentimes at the root of anger. You may have fear, anxiety, all of those things can be at the root of anger. So, getting in touch with your anger and finding out what is at the root of it, what it means, is really a way to create freedom for an emotional eater. It's very important to find a safe space to express your anger and look at why it's coming up. So one of the things that I suggest doing when you're experiencing anger is to do an anger pity party. Express your anger. Set aside 20 minutes to express your anger. Punch a pillow, scream, throw pillows safely. I remember when I was going through my transformation and expressing my anger, one time, this was back when they had those really big, thick phone books. I literally took the phone book and tore it up. It was just, instead of reaching for food, I used the phone book and just, to tear it up, to really get those feelings out, instead of, like I said, using food or alcohol, which in the past, when I struggled with weight, that's what I would do. I would eat or drink in order to deal with my feelings of repressed anger. So, I thought that I'd just share it with you. I don't think, we don't have those phone books anymore, but maybe a thick book that you don't want, or something, and you want to safely express your anger. You want to, do something where you can be with your anger safely and completely. In the coaching program, I get more into how you can rectify your anger when we look at your perceptions and how you can begin then healing your anger. I always say, you have all the answers. I'm just here to facilitate and help you find them. So when dealing with the anger trigger, here's a couple of questions that you can ask yourself. First of all, do you feel like you are dealing with anger and resentment in some area of your life? Does it cause you to eat in destructive ways or drink alcohol in destructive ways? If the answer is yes, then you want to make a list of the persons and or the situations that you're angry about. And if you find that this is something that comes up for you very often, I invite you to schedule a discovery call, a free discovery call with me. You can inbox me and we can schedule a time to sit down and talk about it. Again, you are always free to drop your comment in the comment box or schedule a discovery call. On the next video, I will be discussing the other two triggers for emotional eating: the food trigger and the behavior trigger. And those also will be quite interesting for you to learn about. So I hope that you found this first video very informative, very helpful. And like I always say, if you have any questions, any comments, or you would like to schedule a discovery call, please feel free to put it in the comment box or reach out to me at my website.